Hey guys, what's up everyone? What is up people? How's your life going? I hope that all of you guys are doing good and taking good care of yourself during this quarantine time. Welcome to today's session. This is going to be session number 6 of refraction of light at plane surfaces. My name is Anup and a very warm welcome to all of you guys out there. So people, today we'll be talking about total internal reflection and critical angle, one of the most important topic of this particular chapter. We'll understand that in detail. I hope you guys are ready to learn something new today. Once again, I'm sorry about the lighting and the background because like I told you, I just moved to a new place, so everything is still being set up, so I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully by the next couple of sessions it'll be fixed, but nonetheless, welcome to today's session. So people, in the last session I had actually given you a homework. This was the question basically, this was the question: shift dash with increase in wavelength of the light used. What was the answer to this question? Whatever it was, let me know in the comment section below. But the answer to this question, guys, is that it decreases, because as the wavelength increases, the refraction decreases. We have already seen that, because we have seen that the refractive index of a medium decreases with the increase in the wavelength of light. That means that the shift of that, the shift between the apparent object and the real object is going to be much more lesser. So it's going to decrease if you were to increase the wavelength of light. Very simple question. I hope you guys got this right. I'm pretty sure that you did, because I know that you guys are smart. I know that. Anyways, so people, let's talk about critical angle and total internal reflection. It's a very important topic, so I want everyone to give me your 100% attention for the next 10 minutes or so, because it's super duper important. They might ask you from any of these parts of the questions, and it might be as 1 mark question, 3 mark question, or even as a 5 mark question. So pay attention to everything that I say. Alright, so here's the thing, guys. You've already seen that when a light ray is passing from rarer to denser medium, what happens? There's a bending of ray of light happening. Now, if I were to increase or mess with the angle of incidence, what do you think would possibly happen? Right? That's what we're going to answer today. Okay, so here's the thing. When a ray of light, now I am talking about all the conditions that I'm talking about when I talk about critical angle, I am only referring to denser to rarer medium. So the ray of light is going from denser to rarer medium, not the other way around, not from rarer to denser, instead from denser to rarer medium. Remember that. That's the first most important thing that you have to remember. Alright, so there's a ray of light going from the denser medium to rarer medium. Here we've taken it as glass and air, glass being the denser medium and air being the rarer medium. So that is the incident ray. And after at the surface of separation, what happens? Because of the densities of the medium differing, what happens is that one of the ray of light will get refracted and basically form a particular angle. Awesome. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you've ever been to shopping mall, you have clear glasses, right? They polish it so well, and it's like you want to go inside and see what's happening out there. Here's the thing, guys. Now, in the case of this, if you talk about a mall, it so happens that sometimes if you look very carefully, even though the glass is very clean, and glass, is a transparent medium, it allows all the light to pass through it. Apparently, that's what we've studied in the past. Here's what happens. When you're actually looking through it, you can actually see your reflection as well. How many of you guys have seen that before? Just let me know in the comment section below if you've ever seen that reflection of yourself. Even though it's a perfectly clean glass and it's supposed to let all the light pass through it, you can still see some reflection of yourself on that particular glass. Now, it's not a mirror, it's a glass, but still you can see that reflect. And at the same time, you can also see what's behind that glass as well. So you're able to see yourself, a part of yourself, in the sense it's not going to be a clear image, but then you can see yourself and you can also see what's behind. Here's the thing, guys. When a ray of light passing from denser to rarer medium is, it's incidenting on that surface of separation, some amount of light gets refracted. Some amount of light is allowed to pass through it. Some amount of light also gets reflected back as well, because no medium is ideally transparent. No medium is ever 100% transparent. There's always some reflection happening as well. So here also it's the exact same thing. Some amount of light gets reflected back and some amount of light gets refracted back. But here's the thing, guys. The catch is this. If the angle of incidence is small, if the angle between the normal and the incident ray is small, that is the angle of incidence, if it's small, then the refracted ray is going to be far more stronger than the reflected ray. So you will be able to see what's behind, or you can actually see the refract. You can actually see that the majority of the light gets refracted and only a small portion of the light actually gets reflected back. Now this is the case when the angle of incidence is small. But what if I were to increase the angle of incidence? Here's the thing, guys. If you were to increase the angle of incidence, the angle of refraction also increases. Right? If you increase the angle of incidence, the angle of refraction also increases. There's no harm done. Awesome. But here's the thing, guys. At a certain angle of incidence, here's the catch. At a certain angle of incidence, what happens is that the refracted ray is going to pass on the surface of separation itself. Not above, not below, but exactly on the surface of separation, which means that it is actually making an angle of 90 degrees with the normal. So at a certain of incidence, the refracted ray is going to make an angle of 90 degrees, which means that this particular angle of incidence is what is called as the critical angle. The angle at which the refracted ray is going to pass on the surface, making an angle of 90 degrees. That angle of incidence is what is called as the critical angle. Now different mediums have different critical angles. It's not that it's going to be the same for all the mediums, depending on the densities, depending on several factors. We'll be talking about that later on. But yes guys, the critical angle is a very important thing, because there is a certain angle of incidence after which all of the light just passes through the surface of separation. It will not pass through it, but it will just pass at 90 degrees to the surface of separation. So that angle is what is called as a critical angle. Simple, done and dusted, awesome. Now this is how you are supposed to define it if you are asked in your exam. Critical angle is defined as the angle of incidence that provides an angle of refraction of 90 degrees. Simple, right? That's all. Remember this, guys. Do not forget this. It's very important. Alright. Now, here's the thing. If I were to go beyond that critical angle, if I were to increase the angle of incidence greater than that critical angle, what happens is that magically all of that light ray will completely get reflected back. There will be zero refraction. If I go beyond the critical angle of that medium, if I increase the angle of incidence greater than the critical angle, what happens is that the ray of light, instead of getting refracted, it will completely get reflected. This is what is called as total internal reflection. I'll tell you more about it later on, but for now remember this, guys. If I were to go beyond the critical angle of that particular medium, if I increase the angle of incidence greater than the critical angle, then all of the light pretty much gets reflected back. All of it, 100% of it gets reflected back. There'll be no refraction at all. This is what is called as total internal reflection. We'll be looking at it in depth. We'll be talking about total internal reflection in a prism and everything related to that as well. So don't worry about it. Let's talk about what is the relationship between critical angle and the refractive index of a medium. They do have a proper relationship. Here's the thing, guys. If I talk about, let's say, if I want to find out the refractive index of air with respect to glass, what would be the formula? We have seen that that's Snell's law, or the second law of refraction. The refractive index is equal to sine I by sine r. Now, what is sine I here? Angle of incidence. What is the angle of incidence? It's greater than it is critical angle, basically, because the refracted ray is making an angle of 90 degrees. So that is sine C. What is the refracted ray? It is nothing but sine 90. Let me just use another color because I'm pretty sure that you guys are not able to make out what I'm writing. So let me just change the color. Yeah. So you have sine C, which is nothing but the angle of incidence, and you have sine 90, which is nothing but the refracted, because you already know that the refractive index of a medium is nothing but sine I by sine r. Sine I is the critical angle, which is sine C, and sine r, which is the refracted angle, or the angle of refraction, which is nothing but 90 degrees. Awesome. Now, what is the value of sine 90? Sine 90 is what? Sine 90 is 1. Simple. So if I substitute the value over here, refractive index of air with respect to glass is equal to sine C by 1, which means that refractive index of air with respect to glass is sine Z. Simple. So the sine of the critical angle is equal to the refractive index of that particular medium. But I want to find out what is the refractive index of glass. So how will you find that out? Refractive index of glass with respect to air is equal to 1 by the refractive index of air with respect to glass. It's the reciprocal value of that. Now what is refractive index of air with respect to glass? That is nothing but sine c. So you'll get a sine c, simple. Refractive index of glass with respect to air is nothing but 1 by sine c. Simple, people. That's all. This is the relationship between refractive index of medium and the critical angle. Simple, right? All right. Now, let's talk about what are the factors that is affecting critical angle. The first factor that affects critical angle, obviously there are certain factors that it depends on. The first factor is nothing but the wavelength of light. The greater the wavelength of light, the greater the critical angle as well. Critical angle increases with the increase in wavelength of light. So it's very simple. If I were to increase, so that means red light will have the greatest critical angle. When you talk about violet light, they'll have the least critical angle as it increases with the increase in wavelength of light. The second factor that it depends on is the temperature. Yes, it also depends on the temperature as well. If you increase the temperature of the medium, the critical angle also increases. If you decrease the temperature, the critical angle decreases. If you increase the temperature, the critical angle increases. Now once again, what is critical angle? The angle at which the refracted ray makes an angle of 90 degrees to the surface. That is what is critical angle. So if you mess with the temperature or if you mess with the wavelength of light, in both the cases you can see that there's an increase in the critical angle of that medium as well. Simple. Alright guys, now that you understand this, let's talk about total internal reflection. So like I told you people, if I were to, you see this, if you look at this GIF itself, you'll be able to understand everything. You see this? As I increase the angle of incidence, you see that at a certain angle, the ray of light is passing at 90 degrees to the surface. Simple. That is what it's called as critical angle. And if I go beyond that critical angle, you see that all of the light gets reflected back rather than getting refracted. All of the light gets reflected back. This is what is called as total internal reflection. You see this at a certain angle of incidence, there's refraction happening. Then at a certain angle, you see that the ray of light will pass on the surface, making an angle of 90 degrees to the normal, which is nothing but the critical angle. If I go beyond that critical angle, what I get is total internal reflection. There'll be zero refraction happening. All that ray of light, 100% of that ray of light will get reflected back and to the same medium. Now you must be wondering, what is the need for studying all this, guys? Now I'm pretty sure that majority of you guys watching this video right now would be having some kind of broadband connection. I'm pretty sure that you guys have this broadband connection at home, Wi-Fi that you call it as. Now you've probably heard about FiberNet, right? Because these days FiberNets are very common. It's fast. You get faster internet. You get it's better browsing and everything. Those FiberNet, the cables that they use in those FiberNet connection works on this principle. So if it wasn't for this, we would not be getting this 150 Mbps, 250 Mbps speed right now. It's because of this. It is because of this simple phenomenon, that is total internal reflection, that the world is running on right now. Because the internet is a very important part of the world. Imagine if the internet is down for 2 days, the entire world would stop. And trust me when I say it would stop. So yes, it is because of total internal reflection that all of that is working. So conditions for total internal reflection. The first one is that light must and should travel from denser to rarer medium. It should not be from rarer to denser medium. It should be from denser to rarer medium itself. And secondly, the angle of incidence should be, will be greater than the critical angle. If it's less than the critical angle, then no, total reflection would not happen. Only if it's greater than the critical angle, then total internal reflection would happen. Simple. Alright guys, now let's talk about total internal reflection through a prism. How does our total internal reflection happen in a prism? So what we're going to do is we're going to take three different prisms. Alright, one is a right angled isosceles prism, one is an equilateral prism, and the other is a right angled prism. Alright, so a right angled isosceles prism, how does it look like? Basically it will look like this. So it'll have 190 degrees because it's a right angle triangle, and also it is an isosceles prism, which means that there will be two angles equal to each other. So that means that the sum of three angles a triangle should be 180 degrees. So here 90 degrees on one side, this side should be 45, this should be 45, and what will be 90. So if you add it up, 45 plus 45 is 90, 90 plus 90 is 180 degrees. Very simple. In equilateral prism, you have all the three sides to be equal, so that means that all three should make an angle of 60 degrees. 60 plus 60 plus 60 is what? 180 again. 60 plus 60 is 120, 120 plus 60 is again 180. A right angle prism is one which does not have all, which will have basically all three sides with different angle. One will be 90 degrees, one will be 60 degrees, and the other would be at 30 degrees. Alright, so we're going to talk about all the three conditions. We're going to talk about where is the applications of it and what exactly happens to the light ray once it coincides or once it enters into these three prisms as well. So the first one, guys, right angled isosceles prism. Here's the thing, guys. In a right angle isosceles prism, you don't just get three, you have not just one way or one way of the light ray getting deviated, but instead you have three different ways that total reflection happens in this right angled isosceles prism. And this is what the isosceles prism would look like. A right angle isosceles prism, this is what it would look like. And the three things are this, guys. Through using this prism, you can deviate the light by an angle of 90 degrees, you can deviate the light by 180 degrees, and also you can invert and invert and erected, or you can you can erect an inverted image as well. So all the three things can be done by using just this one prism, that is the right angle isosceles prism. So how does it look like? What is the ray diagram? Let's talk about it. So let's say in this case, let's say that the ray of light is coming and incidenting. This is the 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. This is 45 degrees, and this is the 45 degree angle. Awesome. Now, a ray of light is coming and incidenting at the side or at the face BA. Now, the normal to the surface is what? 90 degrees. This would be the normal. If the ray of light is coming and incidenting at 90 degrees, what would happen? Zero refraction, because the refraction, there'll be no refraction at all. It'll pass through undeviated. So what will happen? It'll pass through straight without any deviation at all. Once it comes and coincides on the surface BC, here's what happens. If I were to draw a normal to the surface, this is what the normal would look like, right? 90 degrees to the surface. So to the surface BC, that is a normal. Now, if you look at this angle is 90 degrees, right? So what will be this angle? 45 plus 90 is 135. 180 minus 135 is again 45 degrees. So this is 45 degrees. If that is 45 degrees, then can you say that this is also 45 degrees? Why? Because this total angle is 90 degrees. We've just seen that we are drawing a normal which makes an angle of 45 degrees. So if that is 45 degrees, this should also be 45 degrees. If the angle of incidence is 45 degrees, it's greater than the critical angle. Now, here's how I came to that conclusion. The critical angle of glass is 42 degrees. And the angle of incidence is 45 degrees, which means that it's greater than the critical angle. And we've just seen if the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle, then there will be total internal reflection. So here's what happens. The ray of light will get total internal reflected, and it will just get reflected this way. Now, if this angle is 45 degrees, this angle should also be 45 degrees, because the angle of incidence is equal to angle of refraction or reflection. So if the angle of incidence is 45 degrees, then the angle of reflection is also 45 degrees. So what will happen? It'll get reflected, pass through straight, come and coincide on the surface AC. Now, if the angle of incidence is 90 degrees, because this is the normal again, it'll again pass through undeviated. So there'll be no refraction at all. It'll pass through undeviated. So what happens is that the ray of light passes through undeviated like this. Simple. Here's the thing, guys. If you look at this, the ray of light was supposed to pass this way. It was supposed to pass through straight. But what happened? Because of total internal reflection, the ray of light basically is now getting deviated by an angle of 90 degrees. It is getting deviated by an angle of 90 degrees. So using this prism, you can deviate the light through 90 degrees. Very, very simple. So this is what the ray diagram would look like. So imagine there's an object that is kept, that is PQ. So what happens? One ray of light comes and hits at 45 degrees. gets reflected, total internal reflection happens, comes and coincides over here. And there's another ray of light which passes through from Q again. The angle of reflection again, the angle of incidence is 45 degrees. So this will be 45 degrees. This will also be 45 degrees. So again, it passes through undeviated, and you see this, the object which is like this has now like this, basically it's deviated by an angle of 90 degrees. And where is this used? You might be wondering, sir, where do we use this? This is used in your periscopes. Those periscopes that are used in your tanks and your submarines and all that. In all of that, we actually use this, because you see this, the ray of light comes, the mirror is kept at 45 degrees. This is also kept at 45 degrees angle. So the incident ray is at, the angle of incidence is 45 degrees. Angle of reflection is also 45 degrees. So the person is able to see the object clearly of what's happening on the outside using this simple phenomenon. All right, now to talk about the ray of light getting deviated by 180 degrees. So let's take another, take another example. Now, this time what happens is that instead of the angle of the incident ray reflecting, incidenting at one side 90 and one side 45, this time what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the isosceles sides, which is the 45 degree angle and the 45 degree angle. Here's what happens: the ray of light comes and hits the surface, passes through undeviated, because that is it is incidenting at 90 degrees again, pass through undeviated, comes and hits on the surface. Now to find out the angle of this one, if this is 45, this is going to be 90 degrees, because it's making an angle of 90 degrees over there. 90 plus 45 is 180. Again, this will be 45 degrees itself. So here, if I draw a normal, if this is 45, this should also be 45, because the entire angle is 45 degrees. It comes, it gets reflected back at 45 degrees, passes through, comes and hits the surface. Again, it is, if I were to draw a normal, again, if I draw a normal, this will again incident exactly at 45 degree itself, which is greater than the critical angle, because it's greater than 45 is definitely greater than 42 degrees. So total internal reflection happens again. So again, it gets reflected back at 45 degrees, passes, hits the surface PR, but again it's at 90 degrees, pass through undeviated, and then comes and coincides over here. The same again, the same for the second side as well. So for A, goes, hits the surface at 45 degrees, gets total internal reflection, again gets total internal reflection, and then passes through undeviated and comes over here. So this is how you deviate the object or the ray of light by 180 degrees. You see this? It's basically you're taking a U-turn. The ray of light is taking a U-turn and falling on the exact same side, and the image again is going to be an inverted image. Simple. So that's how you use this. And now again, where do you use this? This is something that is used in in different applications. Again, when you want the object to be on the same side, so wherever you want that, you actually use this as well. Talking about the third one, where you want to invert erect the inverted image. So here's what happens guys. Let's say that there's an object, let's say I'll take it as A and B. So what happens, you see this is this would be the normal 90 degrees, this would be the normal. So what happens is that this time it's not hitting at 90 degrees, so the incident ray is not at 90 degrees. So what will happen, it will get refracted, and in a prism we have seen that the refraction happens towards the base. So the ray of light gets refracted, moves towards the base, comes and hits this surface. But here, if you were to draw the normal, look at this guys, in this case the angle of incidence is going to be at 45 degrees. So what happens is that it's greater than the critical angle, because the critical angle of a prism or glass is 42 degrees, which is definitely greater than 45 degrees, greater than 42 degrees. So what happens, total internal reflection happens, again gets reflected at at 45 degrees, passes through, it's not hitting at 90 degrees again. So what happens, gets refracted. This time it's going from denser to rarer medium. So what happens is that it goes away from the normal, and you see this, the image is formed like that. So you see this is A, gets refracted, total internal reflection happens, refracted again, and this becomes A dash now. All right, now let's talk about B. Again, same thing, it's not hitting at 90 degrees, so refraction happens, gets refracted, hits the surface, greater than, this is exactly at 45 degrees. If you want to check it out, you can check it out. So this makes a triangle, basically this is a triangle. So if you calculate the angle, you'll get this angle as 45 degrees itself. So again gets reflected back at 45 degrees, goes and hits the surface, which is again not at 90 degrees. So refraction happens away from the normal. So what happens is that the refracted ray passes like this. So you see this, the ray of light is actually parallel. It does not look like it's deviating at all. It looks parallel to each other, but the image is going to be inverted. So this is going to be B dash. So the image which is like this now would look like this. So basically this is how you invert an image. Now if the image is, let's say, inverted already, you can also erect the image as well. Now this is something which is used in projectors and stuff. So you get the to obtain the image on the screen, we actually invert the image. Yeah, in those projectors, the projectors that you have in your schools and stuff, they actually use this kind of prism to make that happen. So you can see this there, guys. Using a right angle isosceles prism, you can get 3 different kinds of deviations, and all these 3 are used in 3 different applications as well. Moving on to the third one, which is the second one, which is nothing but total internal reflection through an equilateral prism. An equilateral prism basically means that all 3 sides are at 60 degrees angle. So in this case, how would it look like? So imagine a ray of light which is coming and incidenting over here. Now again, it is hitting at 90 degrees to the surface. So what happens is passes through undeviated, passes through straight, comes and hits the surface. Now if you look at this, guys, this makes again, if you look at this is 90 degrees. This is 60 degrees. So what is this angle? This will be 30 degrees. 30 plus 60, 90 plus 60 is 150. 180 minus 150 gives you 30 degrees. So if this is 30 degrees, if I were to draw a normal over here, if this is the incident ray, if I draw it normal, if the entire thing is 90 degrees, if this is 30, what will this be? This will be 60 degrees. Simple. If that is 60, the angle of reflection also will be 60. So you'll make an angle of 60 degrees. So passes through and basically hits at 90 degrees to the surface and then passes through without any kind of deviation over here. So this kind of prism, that is the equilateral prism, is actually used to deviate the light ray by 120 degrees. The ray of light was supposed to pass like this, but then it gets deviated by an angle of 120 degrees. So this is where you use the equilateral prism. Very simple. I hope you guys understand this. Last one is nothing but total internal reflection through right angled prism. In this case, you get the thing is this, guys. So if I take this side, which is so you have one at 90 degrees, one at 60, and 130 degrees. So the ray of light is coming and incidenting at the 30 degree at the side V by Z. So what happens? Passes through undeviated, no doubt about it, comes and hits at an angle of 30 degrees, which is less than the critical angle, because the critical angle of a prism or a glass is 42 degrees, which is definitely 30 degrees less than 42 degrees. So what happens? It does no total internal reflection, passes through gets refracted and comes out like this. But if I were to, let's say that if I were to let's say the refracted ray or the incident ray is this way, it is coming and incidenting at this side, that is side XZ, again passes through undeviated, no doubt about it. But then once it hits this surface, what happens is that the angle formed again is going to be at 30 degrees, which is less than the critical angle. So again it will pass through, it will emerge, or it will get refracted and pass through the prism. But if I were to incident the light on the side YZ, that is this side, this over here, what happens over here is that firstly the ray of light would pass through undeviated, no doubt about it. Let me just show you the ray diagram. Pass through undeviated, comes and hits the surface, but this time it makes an angle of 60 degrees, because this is 60 degrees, this is 90 degrees, so this will be 30 degrees. Now the total angle, because it's a normal, that is 90 degrees, so this is 30, this will be 60 degrees, so the angle of incidence will be 60 degrees, angle of reflection will also be 60 degrees, this will make an angle of 60 degrees, goes total internal reflection because greater than 42 degrees, gets totally internal reflected, goes and hits the next surface, that is AB. Now this time the angle of incidence is going to be 30 degrees, which is less than 40 degrees, so it gets emerged out like this. Simple. So this kind of prism, or that is the right angle prism, is actually used to deviate the light like this. If you want, here you see this, the internal reflection happens on only one particular surface, on the hypotenuse of the prism, not on any other surface, because if you incident the light on any other surface, there's no total internal reflection happening, because the incident ray is less than that is the critical angle, so it just emerges out, or it gets refracted and passes straight through the prism. Simple, guys. These are the three important deviation that happens through 3 different kinds of prism as well. Now we talk about what is the difference between reflection from a plane mirror and total internal reflection. So you're basically wondering, sir, why should we use a prism, right? Why can't we just keep the mirror at a certain angle and you would still be able to get the same result? Here's the thing, guys. The total internal reflection that happens would mean, if there's total reflection happening, then there's 100% of light getting reflected back. When a light ray comes and incidents on a plane mirror, there is some amount of light getting reflected back, but there is some amount of refraction and there is some amount of absorption by the surface also happening. But in total internal reflection, if the angle of incidence is greater than critical angle, 100% of the light gets reflected back. So there's no loss whatsoever, and that is why this is used in, I told you that about, the fiber optics and all. It is used over there because there's no loss of any kind of package happening. And apart from that, it's going to be much more brighter because 100% of light is getting reflected back, and the brightness is going to be permanent. Here, it might gradually decrease if the mirror gets old and the silvered side of the mirror, if it gets dulled, if it dulls over time, then what happens is that the image that is formed is going to be less brighter. The image is going to be less, it's not going to be as sharp and as bright as it used to be. So this is the major difference between total reflection and reflection by a plane mirror. And one more thing about this is that in total internal reflection, the angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle. In reflection by plane mirror, that is not necessary at all. At any angle, you can see that the reflection is happening. That's it, people. That is all from my side. That is all the thing that I have to teach you, people. Before we get into the quiz time, before we start with the question and answers, I have a very important notice for you guys. I'm pretty sure that many of you guys know about it already, but this is for all the new guys out there, guys. So this is the thing. We are actually taking up a survey asking you people what are the problems that you guys are facing during this quarantine time, and these are the things that you guys came up with. Your doubts are not getting solved on time. You're not able to get the notes and recordings of every class, tests and assignments because you want to practice those questions as well. You want to you want to prepare yourself for the competitive exams that are coming ahead, and you want to choose your own schedule because you don't want to sometimes when you are free, the teacher's not free. When the teacher's free, you're not free. So that is also a big problem. And finally, guys, choice of your own language as well, because it's not that everyone is comfortable with English, not everyone is comfortable with Hindi. So choosing your own language is also an important one. Here's the thing, guys. At Vedantu, we have solved all of these problems. Inside the class, you will not just have one teacher. In fact, you will have the master teacher to help you clear your conceptual doubts, and you'll also have the class teacher to help you clear your doubts as well. You can download all the notes of whatever the teacher has written on the board, as well as watch the recordings how many number of times you want. You can you have regular tests and assignments to check where you're going wrong and what are the things that you can do to improve yourself. And those tests and assignments will also yield you a personalized report card as well at the end of every month, which tells you what are the topics you have to work on. You will be trained for your competitive exams. So you can choose your own schedule because live classes are happening 24/7. Whenever you feel like studying, you can choose that time and study at that time. And you can choose your own language. We are offering classes in both English as well as in Hindi. So whichever language you feel you're more comfortable in, you can study in that language with your teacher of your choice. Now, apart from that, guys, you have unlimited live classes, all micro courses and crash courses, performance report card, and personalized attention as well. So what you will do is very simple, guys. Go to the link that is given in the description below. Click on that link. Once you click on that link, this is what you're going to get. They'll ask you which grade do you belong to. Let's say you're in 10th grade. Once you click on 10th grade, they'll ask you which board do you belong to, CBSE, ICSE, or Maharashtra. Let's say you're in CBSE or ICSE. Once you click on that, this is what you're going to get. Everything that I just told you in one glance. So what you're going to do is click on get subscription. Once you click on get subscription, this is what is going to appear in front of you. 1, 3, and 6 months. Let's say you want to go for the next 1 month, see how it works out for the next 30 days. So the base price of that is 4,000 rupees. I know it's a big amount. Do not worry, guys. You get a primary discount on that, and what you'll be paying is around 2,699 rupees for the whole month. If you want to save more money, enter the coupon code AMPRO, which I'm pretty sure you want to do. You'll get an additional 500 rupees discount, and what you'll be paying is 2,159 rupees for the whole month. Let's say you want to go for the 3-month course. The base price of this is 10,000 rupees, but you get a primary discount on that. What you'll be paying is 6,999 rupees. On top of that, if you want to save another 400 rupees discount, enter the coupon code AMPRO, get additional 1,400 rupees discount, and what you'll be paying is 5,599 rupees for the next 3 months. Let's say you want to go for the 6-month course. The 6-month course, the base price is 16,000 rupees. But don't worry, guys, it's a big amount. I understand that. Don't worry, you get a primary discount on that, and what you'll be paying is 11,499 rupees. On top of that, if you wanted to save another 2,000 rupees discount, if you want to get a discount of that, enter the coupon code AMPRO, get additional 2,299 rupees discount, and what you'll be paying is 9,199 rupees for the whole 6 month. Now, it might seem like a big amount, guys, but think about it. you are getting the best of the best teachers in the world, I would say, and you're getting all these kind of facilities as well. Do check out the link. Let me know what do you think about it. It's given in the description below, and do not forget the coupon code AMPRO. Enroll in the courses, and I'll see you guys in the regular sessions as well. With that said, guys, let us now solve some questions and try to improve or work on what we've seen so far. All right, critical angle is an angle of dash in denser medium for which the angle of dash in rarer medium is dash. Refraction incidence 90 degrees, refraction incidence 42 degrees, incidence refraction 90 degrees, incidence refraction 42 degrees. Critical angle is the angle of incidence in the denser medium for which the angle of refraction in the rarer medium is 90 degrees. So the answer to this question, guys, is option number C, incidence refraction at 90 degrees. Again, I want you guys to let me know what is the answer in the comment section below. Don't just copy the answer that I'm just putting on. All right, here's the next one. Find the refractive index of the medium whose critical angle is 40 degrees. A sine 40 is 0.65. What is the critical angle of the medium? Is it 1.2, 1.6, 2.1, or 0.65? How do you solve this question, guys? Let me just show it to you. So refractive index of the medium with respect to air is equal to 1 by sine c, because it is the refractive index of air with respect to medium, the reciprocal of that, and 1 by sine c is given as what? It's 40 degrees. They've given in the angle as 45 degrees, 40 degrees, and 1 sine 40 is 0.65. So if you simplify this, I'll just multiply this with 100 and this also with 100, so you'll get us 100 divided by 65. If you simplify this, you will get it as 1.538, something like that. So you can just take it as 1.6 to be the answer. Very simple, guys. The critical angle, so the refractive index of this medium is going to be 1.6. Simple, very, very simple question. Moving on to the third question, guys. A prism having an angle of 90 degrees between two refracting surfaces and the other two angles equal to 45 degrees is called as what? Equilateral prism, right angle isosceles prism, or total reflecting prism, or both B and C. The answer to this question, guys, it might be a little surprising, but the answer to this question is option number D. You know why option number D is correct? Because this, first of all, this prism is it's basically the right angle isosceles prism. Now if you look at the ray diagrams that I showed you before, no matter which surface you take in a right angle isosceles prism, there is total internal reflection happening. No matter which surface you take, whether it can be AC, BC, AB, does not matter. In all the three surfaces, there is total internal reflection happening, and that's why this is called as total reflecting prism, because no matter what surface you take, there is the total internal reflection happening. In the other case, that is when you talk about the equilateral prism, and in the case of your right angle prism, you have to there's a certain angle that needs to be that the angle of incidence should be at. There are a lot of conditions that it has to follow, but in the case of this prism, there is nothing like that. No matter what surface you take, total internal reflection happens. So option number D would be the right answer. By that, this is the last question, guys. The total reflecting prism is used to deviate a light through 90 degrees, to deviate a light by 180 degrees, to erect an inverted image without producing deviation in the path, or all of the above. Option number, which one? Option number D, guys, because obviously we've seen that in the first one. That is, if you talk about that is total reflecting prism is nothing but your right angle isosceles prism. All the three cases is what you see. So option number D would be the right answer. Simple, guys. That is it from my side. This is the homework for today. Let me know what is the answer for this in the comment section below. A total reflecting equilateral prism can be used to deviate a light through what? Sorry, guys. Let me know what is the answer in the comment section below. That is it from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. I hope you learned something new out of today's session. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, be a part of the squad. See you guys in the next one. Take care of yourself. Stay safe, guys. Until the next time, this is Arnab signing off for the day. Bye bye. Have a great evening ahead. Bye bye, guys. Take care. Bye bye.